So recently I just completed a 10-day silent meditation called Vipassana. Now if you've never heard of this before, it's where you meditate for 10 hours a day for 10 days straight. You don't do anything, you can't talk with anyone, you don't have any phone technology or anything like that. All you do is meditate for 10 hours, sleep and eat, and that's about it, and you have a shelter. It's very, very simple life. And so in this video I'm going to take you through the 10 lessons that I got from those 10 days. I do this once a year and it's one of the most peaceful experiences of my life, and I'm going to give you an inside look of the lessons I got from the last one. So a lot of people I talk with, when I mention this, they go, oh, I could never do that, or it scares them. And I get it, it did for me the first time, but after that, it's the most liberating experience ever, because it all comes back to how can you know yourself fully if you can't spend time with yourself? If you want to improve your relationships in your life, improve the relationship with yourself, and then your external relationships will change massively. And so I'm going to give you an inside look of some of the lessons that I got. So number one, life is peace. Everything else is a distorted construct of the mind. So what do I mean by this? Well, life is very peaceful. You know, I was sitting there and there was nothing else around me. Having a tea in the afternoon, and that where I go, there's, you know, a bit of a hill, and they have all these bindis which all the birds eat. So there was cockatoos, there was galahs, and there was parrots, and they were just all eating there, and I was watching them, and life is just simple, it's just peaceful. Everything else is just a construct that we put inside of our mind. You know, we can see peace or we can see chaos, but it just depends what we want to look at. And everything is peaceful, and it's just a distorted construct of the mind, right? So the best thing to do is to choose peace, to find the peace, because it's there. You know, some of the worst people who are fighting for peace are doing that through violence or doing it through protest. A protest is not peaceful, but they're protesting for peace. It's quite ironic. Super important, if you're watching this video right now and you're like, this seems like a lot of work, it seems hard, I'm not built like this. Bullshit, that's just a bullshit story you're telling yourself. You've got to train. You can either train or you can play, and there's no in between. Now, we train men like you every single day. Men who want to take their life to the next level, men who want to recreate themselves, men who want to step up as the leader of their family, of their businesses, of their communities, of their companies. And so if you resonate with any of this, down below what you're going to see is a description of this YouTube video, and inside of that there's going to be a link. Click on that link, enter your name, enter your phone number, enter your email address, and my team will personally reach out to you, showing you the 4 steps and the 4 stages that can help you get to where you want to be. So if you're serious about recreating your life, if you're serious about stepping up into the man that you know that you can be, managing your life, managing everyone else's life because you manage your own, then let's do it. I'd love to see you on the inside. So when we think about life is peaceful, choose it to be peaceful for you. How can you make your life more peaceful for you? Now, I get we live in the world, we've got day-to-day things, but the more you can make your life more peaceful, the better it's going to be. So on to number 2. The Buddha said, the hardest thing in the world to control is an untamed mind, but the easiest thing to control is a tamed mind. And so this comes back to everything. So many people aren't actually training their mind. So many people aren't doing things to train this thing that's inside of our head. 1, we don't know how to because we've never been taught. And 2, there's really not all that many effective tools out there. And so when it comes to meditation, a lot of people go, oh, I can't meditate because their mind's thinking. Like if you try and sit down and meditate, then of course it's going to be like that. I do too, it happens. When I sit down at the start of a 10-day course, my mind is racing. It takes me a couple of days to calm it down, but by the end I can sit down there and nearly for the whole hour my mind won't go anywhere to be fully focused on what I'm concentrating on. But it takes 10 hours to get there, 10 days a week. You need to think about, though, it's not about getting to that point, it's about training your mind. So train your mind to be present. It doesn't have to be in meditation, but meditation is a very, very powerful way of doing it. But it could be while you're concentrating, as soon as your mind goes off of, I got to do this, I got to do this, bring it back and come back to doing whatever the task is that you're doing. If you're focused on your kids and your mind goes off, come back to your kids. And that way you're training your mind, because your mind pretty much runs everything, your thoughts and your emotions, right? And so if we're thinking unhealthy things and the things that we don't want to, then we're actually creating that for ourselves. So it's important to train our mind daily. I like using meditations. I like being present in the moment and really focusing on how I can keep my thoughts and my emotions in the best state possible. And it's a constant process of just constantly training your mind. You're going to have to consciously do it first, but then eventually it will just become second nature. And you may have heard, the 4 stages of conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and then unconscious competence. And so you may be in some of those stages, but you may have to consciously do it, practice training your mind, and then it will just become automatic. So it will take a bit of time to do it, but it's very powerful, and you can train your mind to think positive, to always feel as good as you can all the time. Now on to number 3. Everything is impermanent. We don't change, we are change and are ever changing. Think about that for a second. We're not trying to change, we always are. So a lot of us, we're trying to change things about ourselves. If we know that we are changing, I don't need to change because I know I am, then you actually start changing. And everything in life is ever changing. Our life, generally, we are always doing something different. We may seem like we're doing something the same all the time, but really it's something different. We're not here forever, nothing's permanent. So the more that you can understand that, the more that you may have something going on in your life that you don't like, it will get better. Nothing lasts forever, it will change. So if you have some kind of disease, remember that too, that it's not permanent, because it wasn't there before, which means it doesn't have to be there afterwards. So be mindful of that everything will change. Now on to number 4. Attachment, attainment, and addiction to physical matter or stuff is the cause to the effect that we call suffering. So what do I mean by this? That us wanting to attain our goals and achieve our goals, or maybe even addicted to money or to some kind of physical thing, then that is what causes suffering to us humans. Because it's like we have this thing and it may cause suffering because we live in a place of lack, or we live in a place of not having it. And it's the same when it comes to addictions. Obviously that causes some suffering going back and forward. So if we can understand and consciously ask ourselves all the time, what am I attached to? What am I addicted to? That's probably almost a little bit too unhealthy. Like, what do I really, really want that I'm attached to? And when you can start releasing and detaching from those, your quality of life is going to improve. I always ask myself, what is going on? What are the 3D attachments that I'm addicted to right now? What are the things that I couldn't live without? And some of them are good, some of them are bad. It doesn't matter, it just depends how you think of it. Like for me, I need to work out every day. When I was on Vipassana, I would even go through and do some little workouts in between things, because I need to work, because I feel good. You could say that's an addiction, but then other people would say that's cool. It's up to you whether you want to let go of it, but it's just about becoming conscious of it and knowing that it's there. I am attached to going to the gym. I am attached and feeling good. I'm attached on looking good physically. And some may think that's superficial. I don't really care. But it's important to just be aware of it. It's important to be aware of the things you're attached to. It's the things that you're addicted to, and the things that you are trying to obtain so much that may be taking you away from something else. On to number 5. We are really nobody going nowhere, but most of us are trying to be somebody going somewhere. Think about that for a second. We are nobody. In 3-4 generations time, no one's even gonna know who we are, really. But so many of us are trying to make something of ourselves. And that's, I'm not saying it's bad, but we need to understand it and put it into context that, maybe we don't have to try and make ourselves into someone and try and prove ourselves to someone and try and go somewhere and do something and spend our whole life trying to go after these things, when really, we're nobody going nowhere. And how much pressure would you let off yourself by knowing that. Now, I'm not saying this to, just give up on the things that you want to achieve in your life or to make something of yourself. No, but I'm just coming back to the same one as we went before about being attached to that and how it's unhelpful. And really understand it's going to shatter your ego, right? Because you are nobody going nowhere. And as soon as we try and think we're somebody going somewhere, that's our ego self coming in. So be mindful of what it is, and your ego, it's not necessarily bad, but just be mindful of what is there underneath you, and remind yourself that, you just have a different outlook on life. Perspective is everything, and this gives you a different perspective. Number 6, everything can wait, even so-called urgent things. Now, this was one of the biggest things for me is, in business, there's always like, we've got all these things to do, we've got this to do, and everything's always like, especially in a lot of people when I was back in construction, it was always like, this had to be done yesterday. And then, people put things on the desk, maybe at work, and it's like, can you do this, can you do this? And there's so much like, now. Everyone wants things done now. But learning that and being there for 10 days, knowing that everything was just shut off, if I needed to something, it would have waited until I was back, But this is why I said most things can wait, right? So all of the things that you think are urgent, they can wait. Payments. A lot of people get so stressed out about payments. You can miss a payment. You can push it back. Even though you think it might affect you, just call them, and say, hey, look, I'm struggling at the moment. I need to push this back a week. They'll be like, sure, no worries. Everything can wait. Okay, so don't push yourself under unnecessary pressure because of that. Number 7, the cleaner and clearer the mind, the cleaner and clearer your environment will be. I noticed this, where I was staying, there's a little block of like kind of dorm style accommodation. And then there was a few rose gardens, and they hadn't been weeded for how long? I ended up pulling out 4 of these big bins of them, like 120 odd litre bins, 4 of them just full of weeds. And what I noticed was it was kind of like a representation of me pulling weeds out of my mind, and I was pulling them out of the gardens. It wasn't like I really made a decision of like, I'm gonna go weed that. I just did it. I had a bit of time in the afternoon, so I just started pulling out some weeds because I was walking past it all the time. I'm like, it looks messy. And I just started doing it. Anyway, I ended up becoming a little project and weeded a few of the rose gardens and put mulch all over them, everything. A lot of the volunteers and the people that were there loved me for it. But this is the thing, it's like the cleaner your mind, the cleaner your environment. I know if I go in and at my desk or my environment is messy, I feel the messiness inside of my mind. And I know if my mind's clear, then I want to get rid of all of that. I want to stay clear. So if your mind is clean and clear, and the more you spend on clearing your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, and all the things inside of your mind, your environment is going to clean up around you. Whether that's relationships, whether that's how your emotional intelligence and how you go up and down, maybe it's to other people. So really work on yourself, clearing your mind and cleaning out your mind, and your external world will change because of that. Number 8, be more intentional as best as possible. Intention is the balance between control and aimlessly floating on autopilot. Intention is really, really important. It's like, why do we do what we do? You go to work and you may do this, but why? Like, why do you do that job? Why do we do this? It's really important to ask why, because if we ask why, then we're creating an emotional response. Because if I said to you, why do you do this, rather than what do you do, what is much more logical and it's much easier to answer. But when we say why, it hits the deeper emotions. We need to ask why we do the things that we do and be intentional with it. Because it's like, well, why do I go to the gym? Why do I do this? Why do I do this? Why do I do my daily things? Why do I do this? Just ask why, because then we'll just be on autopilot. And then you can be more intentional with the things that you do. Because if you're not intentional, you're going to be just aimlessly floating around on autopilot. You're going to wake up in 20 years' time and go, where did that go? So be more intentional. Number 9, life can be simple or it can be complex. It's just one decision that we all get to make. One thing that I really learned is life is just simple. It really is. It's just a decision that we either make it simple or we make it complex. It's a decision that you get to make. So remember that. Remember that you can make your life as simple as you like, just remove the things that are making it complex. That's why the minimalist lifestyle is so attractive to so many people. And this is why I wear these shirts all the time. I literally don't have too many other clothes. I wear these because it's simple, it's easy. I don't have to think so many different bits and pieces. So the more simple you can live your life, the better. You know, they always say complexity is the enemy of success. Complexity is the enemy of execution. All of those things being complex can lead to procrastination. It can lead to overwhelm. Simple is always better, right? So remember that. Make your life as simple as possible. It's just a decision that you get to make. And lastly, number 10, being present and practicing mindfulness to become more present is the greatest gift one can give to themselves. So many people are living in the future about what I need to do, too much that way. What I need to do, you know, I've got to take kids this way, I've got all sorts of stuff to do. Or people living in the past, I shouldn't have done that. Why didn't I say this? Oh, I wonder what that person's thinking about me. When we're missing out on the present moment, there's a saying, and it's like, you know, the past is the past. Yesterday was yesterday. The future is the future. Like tomorrow is always going to be tomorrow. But right now is called the present, and that's why it's a gift. That's why it's called the present. So life is only happening now. Remember that. The past really doesn't exist. The only thing your past exists is here. The only thing about your future exists here. The only thing that is ever happening is right now. And so many people aren't even here in this present moment. They want to get to the next one, or they want to get to the weekend, or whatever it is. They want to escape the present moment because they're too busy thinking either past or the future. So be as present as you can, and it's the best gift that you can give to yourself, being present, and you get to enjoy life so much more. You know, do the things where time isn't even irrelevant. You look up and you're like, wow, I was so engrossed in that. That is what gives us meaning in life, you know, having those experiences. So those were the 10. Let me know what your top one was. And just a note on this, I want you to really, don't just listen to these. Don't just go, oh, yep, I know them. Actually fully go through them and find the one that's the most impactful for you and implement into your life. You know, just knowledge and just looking at these without implementation, it's useless. You may as well have not watched this. You've just wasted your time. So pick one and implement it for the next 30 days. Go, you know what, I'm really going to go deeper onto this one. I'm really going to go deeper on being present. I'm really going to go deeper on training my mind. I'm really going to go deep on creating just peaceful experiences for myself. I'm really going to go deep on getting rid of the things that can wait and prioritize myself and my life, and everything else can wait. So whichever one it is for you, go through and do that. Now, if you like this video, comment, subscribe, give us any feedback. If you want to see any other things you want me to talk about, just put them in the comments. It was a pleasure as always, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. You made it to the end of the video, and you are one of the top 1%ers who get to this point. Now, if you're sick and tired of not growing to the level that you want, if you're sick and tired of being the same spot that you were 12 months ago, if you're like, you know what, I've got so much more to offer, but I don't really know how to get there, then if that is you, down below, book in your call with one of my team. Just enter your phone, enter your email, and enter your number. And hey, look, we can't reach you if you enter details that are wrong. So enter your right details. We'll be able to reach out to you. We'll show you the 4 stages that we take men through that's going to completely rip you out of your current situation and push you in a new direction that where you want to go. I will push you as hard as I can to get that outcome for you, because I know how much the life is good on the other side of it when we get out of the shit, when we get onto where we want to go. So click the button and I'll see you on the other side.